Printed versus enamel. Let's put a pin on it. Actually, let's put that on a pin. This is Josh K with the Monterey Company, and we're going to be talking about printed versus enamel die struck die cast pins today. We can do printed, we can do enamel pins. They have some similarities, but there are some very, very stark differences. So let's do a brief overview. Printed pins. We have a stainless iron blank. It can be whatever shape that you want within reason, so it doesn't have to be a circle, square, so on and so forth. Then we literally print your image onto that stainless iron blank. Once that printing is finished, we cover it with a clear coat of epoxy. That serves a couple purposes. One, main, it protects that printed image. Two, it gives a little bit more heft, a little bit more feel. Three, makes it look a little bit more finished, a little bit nicer. Pretty much a printed pin. Depending upon your design, we might be doing spot printing, we might be doing CMYK printing, we might be doing offset printing. It all depends upon your design for what printing method you use. Enamel pins, they're going to be die struck or die cast, depending upon the shape and the details of that. It's a little bit different of a process. We strike or cast the base metal. Your design with recessed areas for the enamel colors. Then we plate. All of our die cast or die struck pins will be plated. Got a plating chart here or here, not sure where, but you can choose whatever plating that you want. That's going to be your metal color that we use. Plate the entire thing, front, back, raised, recessed, all of that. Once the plating is done, then we fill the color areas with enamel color, soft or hard enamel. Once that enamel process is finished, we polish off the raised areas of the metal, package, done. That's the main difference between both. Now let's talk about where we might use printed versus where we might do enamel and some of the main differences. If your design has a ton of color grading, if you have a lot of small details, if you want to do your design but at a really small size, then it might be printed. We can't do any of those things with die struck. You have some limitations on how small you can make things. The coloring that you're putting in the design. All of those things might dictate we're going to do printed. With enamel, all colors do need to be solid. So if your design has a lot of color gradient and it's going, like a sunset sky, and we have yellow, orange, red, purple, blue. If you wanted to do an enamel pin, we might segment it. This area is yellow, this area is orange, so on and so forth. We can't go where it goes yellow to gradually to orange to red in enamel. There's no way to do that. If you have a lot of small text and they need to be a specific color, we might not be able to make the text that small and fill with enamel in an enamel pin. So your design is really going to dictate this. When you send in your design with your quote request, which by the way, please put in a quote request. We're going to be able to determine based off of your design, the size that you want it to be, and also your budget. So let's also talk about some of these differences. Printed pins tend to be a little bit cheaper than enamel pins. They also tend to be a little bit quicker. On average for enamel pins, we're looking at 3 to 4 weeks, whereas with printed pins, it can be a week and a half, 2 weeks. We can get those done pretty quickly. So if you have a very complex design and you're needing them in 2 weeks, we might go, congratulations, you're getting a printed pin. Die struck, die cast enamel pins have a little bit more heft to them. They have a little bit more weight to them. There's a whole consumer psychology behind that. So if you're wanting something that has some feel to it, we might recommend doing die struck or die cast versus printed. If you're not sure, please request samples. We've got tons of samples downstairs that I could send to you that you could see in hand. Seeing them in person is really going to drive home the difference. Thanks so much for checking out our video. Check out our other videos. Like, click, subscribe, put in a quote request. We look forward to working with you.